To understand the Caborca Cartel, we must first look at its architect, Rafael Caro Quintero, one of the most infamous narco bosses in history. Caro Quintero was a founding member of the Guadalajara Cartel in the 1970s and 80s, an organization that dominated Mexico's drug trade. After decades in prison for his role in the kidnapping and murder of D agent Enrique Kiki Camarena, Caro Quintero was released in 2013, but instead of fading into obscurity, he returned to the underworld. From his home region in Caborca, Sinaloa, he built a new power, the Caborca Cartel, a group determined to reclaim influence in Mexico's north and dominate smuggling routes into the United States. The cartel takes its name from Caborca, a rugged desert region in Sonora, Mexico. Sonora sits right along the U.S. border, making it one of the most strategic territories for trafficking. The cartel fights for control of highways, desert trails, and hidden airstrips used to smuggle drugs north. These routes stretch into Arizona, New Mexico, California, and beyond, flooding U.S. streets with meth, fentanyl, heroin, and marijuana. For Caro Quintero, Caborca was more than just a home. It was a launching pad to rebuild his empire, directly challenging rivals like the Sinaloa Cartel and Jalisco New Generation Cartel CJNG. Unlike newer cartels built by younger capos, the Caborca Cartel reflects the old-school narco mentality. Caro Quintero commanded respect, not just through money, but through decades of reputation. But his return sparked violent turf wars. Sonora became a battlefield. Caborca gunmen, heavily armed with military-grade weapons, clashed with rival factions in towns, highways, and remote ranches. Civilians were caught in the crossfire. Entire villages fled as massacres scarred the desert. The old narco was back, and determined to leave his mark once again. The Caborca Cartel focuses heavily on drug trafficking into the U.S. Their specialty, fentanyl, heroin, and methamphetamine, deadly drugs that have fueled America's overdose crisis. Smugglers use every method possible. Trucks hidden with secret compartments, underground tunnels, migrants forced to carry backpacks of narcotics, even small planes and drones. Once inside the U.S., these drugs spread through networks of street gangs, fueling addiction, violence, and chaos from Los Angeles to Chicago, from Phoenix to New York. The cartel's rise did not go uncontested. The Sinaloa Cartel, once dominant in Sonora, saw Caro Quintero's group as a threat. The result: bloody battles in Sonora's border towns. At the same time, the CJNG, Mexico's fastest-growing cartel, began pushing into northern Mexico. This turned Sonora into a three-way war zone: Caborca versus Sinaloa versus CJNG. The desert became littered with burned-out vehicles, bodies, and scars of endless gunfights. For the United States, Caro Quintero was not just another drug lord. He was the man responsible for the torture and murder of D agent Kiki Camarena in 1985, one of the darkest chapters in D history. When Caro Quintero returned to power, the D launched a manhunt, labeling him one of their top fugitives. Posters of his face appeared across the border. A $20 million bounty was placed on his head. The Caborca Cartel's trafficking into the U.S. wasn't just a criminal enterprise, it was personal. It was a direct challenge to American law enforcement. In July 2022, after nearly a decade of evading authorities, Caro Quintero was captured in the mountains of Sinaloa by Mexican Marines, with the help of U.S. intelligence. But his arrest didn't end the Caborca Cartel. Instead, it triggered internal struggles. New leaders rose, lieutenants battled for power, and rival cartels saw an opportunity to strike. The violence didn't stop. In fact, it spread. The Caborca Cartel's trafficking has left deep scars, and the U.S. cities across America continue to battle the fallout of the fentanyl epidemic. Overdose deaths climb each year. Families are torn apart. Law enforcement stretches thin. Communities near the border feel the daily impact: smuggling, human trafficking, and cartel violence spilling across. The desert trails of Sonora connect directly to the suffering in American towns. The war between cartels and governments is never simple. Corruption runs deep. Politicians, police, and even soldiers have been accused of colluding with traffickers. The Caborca Cartel thrives in this chaos. Each time a capo is captured, another takes his place. Each time a route is blocked, another is opened. For both Mexico and the U.S., the battle against cartels like Caborca is a marathon with no end in sight. The Caborca Cartel is still active, though its leader sits in prison, its gunmen and traffickers remain. The story of Caborca is the story of Mexico's drug war itself, a cycle of violence, betrayal, and survival. For the United States, it is a reminder that the narco war is not confined to Mexico. Its drugs, its violence, its scars are already here. As long as there is demand, the cartels will supply. And the name of Caborca will remain written in blood in the deserts of Sonora and the streets of America.